What's poppin', yo? DJ Mustard recently had his album sales reported. And I think part of the reason why people came at him, I wouldn't say it's due to the way he reacted, but he did give a good headline. And I'm going to go into the whole conversation about his sales and not in the way that most people are tackling it. So initially, it was reported DJ Mustard's Faith of a Mustard Seed to sell 18,000 units first week. And then he says, beyond grateful. And this page, Hip Hop All Day, they post a lot of stats. I haven't seen them much on my feed since I haven't checked Twitter too much. It's one of the worst applications for me. Like, I open it, I just see a bunch of negativity. I see a feared buck post, which sometimes is something cool, like I show speed. And a lot of the other times it's something I never wanted to see. So I just close my Twitter and get off. I probably have less than 8 minutes a day on it. We're not going to get into that tangent about me. So he says, beyond grateful, and then he goes on to say, album sales are a form of white supremacy. Y'all racist. I think he's trolling with this post. Like, nobody really says this, but you never know. And then someone says it's only racist when your album flops. If your album sold well, you'd be flexing your sales. Well, he did say he was grateful. And then he says, your name Thomas O'Malley, which it is funny as a follow-up to him saying it's like white supremacy. And then Mustard says, Drake is the Malcolm X of white people. And academics, make sure you post Gordo first week since Drake thought he did a thing with making him drop on the same day as me. These Drake bots are the nation of Drizlam. These bots trying to fade me. And he goes on and says, stream the album or I'ma be a bot. Your choice. I'm not mad. I'm at my son basketball game. They was hooping and they just won. I figured I'd fade some bots. I'm still grateful. A bot could never make me ungrateful. LOL. F y'all thought. Rewind. What was Mustard's last album? Perfect 10, right? That was 5 years ago. That was probably 2019, if I recall correctly. So 2019, what did Mustard's last album sell? 36,000 first week. And this had Pure Water with the Migos. This had a YG song. This had Baguettes in the Face. That was a big song as well. This had Ballin' with Roddy Ricch. That became a very, very, very big song. So this had really, really big songs. And it sold 30,000 first week, or 36,000 the first week. 5 years ago. Keep that in mind. So I don't know what people were expecting. Were you expecting him to sell the same thing that he did 5 years ago? Because if you take a look at Travis Scott, 5 or 6 years ago, I could say in 2018, he sold 560,000. How much did he sell with Utopia? Let's look it up. Utopia first week sales. I think it was 496,000. Jeez, okay, 252,000 in pure album sales. He knows how to work the system. All right, I thought I was going to do something here. I did not do something here. Travis Scott knows how to work the system. Let's take some other people. What's another person that we can think of? Culture 3? Is that a good example? Culture 3, right? When did that drop? Yo, when did Culture 3 drop? Okay, they did 130,000 first week, and this was 2021. Okay, this was still a different era. Without boring you guys and looking through a bunch of different albums, I could do this afterwards and maybe post it on social media, not entirely sure. But most people's album sales have dropped 50% or more since 2019, 2020. How many times do you see 100K getting sold and it's not a country artist or Taylor Swift or somebody with a massive hit single? Almost never. So for Mustard to do 18,000, I was in shock that people were trying to make fun of him and call it a flop because I thought it was a solid number. Like, let's keep in mind, Mustard is not Metro Boomin, all right? Mustard he's big, but he doesn't have the brand as big as Metro Boomin. His music is big. We recognize his music. A lot of it is singles, but he hasn't even released many albums like Metro Boomin has as well. Sure, some of Metro Boomin's albums are joint projects, and Metro Boomin is more active. But if we're taking a look at it, Ice Spice did what? 19K? 20K? Can we agree that Ice Spice is scorching hot in the past year compared to Mustard? We can all agree on that, right? She has more of a marketable face. She's always out there. And she did a couple thousand, like 1,000 more? She barely sold more than him. What was it, 16K that he sold or 18K? Yeah, he sold 18K. And then she sold 19K. So some people will come at Ice Spice's album sales too. I don't think Ice Spice's album sales were bad. She had a 10-track album, keep in mind as well. And this is something that nobody takes into consideration. If Ice Spice had a 20-track album, she would be selling more. But she doesn't. The Fate of a Mustard Seed, terrible album title, by the way. It's just garbage. Mustard has a decent, not soundtrack, a decent length track list. It's about 14 tracks. So I will say, off rip, no, these are not bad sales for Mustard whatsoever. Did you expect them to do 50K? Did you expect them to do 100K? Now, what happens after this? People only care about sales insofar as they can weaponize them for whatever arguments or points that they already have. It's kind of like confirmation bias. So if I think Ice Spice is flopping and Ice Spice does 30K, right? Or let's just say 20K. What I will say is, I don't like Ice Spice. What I will say is, man, Ice Spice only did 19K. And the bigger your voice is, or the wider the amount of people you are. So let's say a big voice is like Fantano, for instance. He doesn't really talk about sales, but that's a big voice individually, and he can kick off a narrative like that. Or you can have thousands of Ice Spice haters that are all saying the same thing. That would have an equivalent effect because it's going to create this ripple to where a bunch of people start adopting this because that's just what people do. So then that's how it starts. And in this case, people have a reason to hate on Mustard because of this whole Drake thing. So what will people say? Oh, man, Mustard's a flop, 18K. Like, oh, he couldn't get Kendrick Lamar on this. Kendrick Lamar didn't post this on his social media, this and that. All of these different arguments. When Mustard, I haven't listened to the album. I will listen to the album, though. I was busy listening to Vultures 2, which I'm not even going to give my opinion on that. As not in this video, but subscribe. I will soon. I think he dropped a solid album sale, solid first week for Mustard. Because I didn't even know this was a thing. I didn't even know there was a rollout for a Mustard album. I'll listen to Spotify sometimes, and then it'll play this Travis Scott song. I'm like, yo, what Travis Scott song is this? I listened to Utopia. I loved Utopia. I need to keep saying that. I'm like, yo, what Travis Scott song is this? And then I see it's a Mustard song. I was like, what the hell? When did this come out? Who put this out? How did I miss this? So I didn't even know that he had an album dropping until these sales came out. So if most of us didn't know, and he still sold this much, what are we going to say? How many people are selling over 20K? Like, we've got A-list artists, not A-list, A-list rappers, we could say, B-list rappers. Ice Spice doing 19K. And she's already has hits that she has on the album that are streaming. So the expectation of a person doing, like 50K? Are you crazy? So I think these expectations need to be renewed. Unless you're some artist that's been in the game for forever. Like, look at Charlie XCX, right? She's killing it right now. But, dog, she's got multiple hits on that thing. And she's not doing 100K plus first week. So what argument are we having? And I feel bad for Mustard that he has to just bear the burden of being the butt of these jokes. And they're trying to portray him as a flop when he's not. These numbers are fine. Especially in this new age. It's not 5 years ago. A couple of years ago, I don't know if it was 3, Meek Mill did 100K or nearly 100K, 91K. What the hell do you think Meek Mill would do today? Please tell me. Do you think Meek Mill would do 50K? Bro, Meek Mill would probably, I would say solid sales numbers for Meek Mill in the modern day, today, if he were to drop, if he did 35K plus, I would say, okay, that's a solid amount. I wouldn't write home about it, but that's a solid amount. But unfortunately for Mustard, he decided to take up this thing against Drake, and people are just going to portray it in a certain way. And that's one thing I don't like, where it's being portrayed that Kendrick Lamar owes these people like this tit for tat. Well, not tit for tat. That's a different term. But it's like, hey, I scratch your back, you scratch my back thing, where I don't think that's what happened. I think these people got love for Kendrick Lamar making a West Coast track and it's shining a light on the West Coast and they want to support it. That's genuinely what I think it is. And I don't think it needs to be more than that. And the expectation that if you support this, Kendrick Lamar owes you something is more entitlement than anything else. And maybe that's how Drake runs his relationships. I don't know. And I'm not going to put that on Drake. But that's like saying, a bunch of Toronto artists are showing love to Drake because they expect to get a feature from him. I don't think that's the case. I think they're happy that he shined a light on their city. Like, for example, like Top 5, a bunch of these guys, they got shouted out by Drake in songs. Most of them, almost all of them, weren't saying like, yo, Drake never gave me a feature, but he mentioned me on a song. Like, yo, he gave you a look. He gave your scene a look. He gave your city a look. And that's something that was missing from West Coast for a while, California at least, within hip-hop. It was mostly Atlanta. Texas has its own thing. New York is in the mix. And showing gratitude for that is what? Like, you have some sort of expectation from it? I don't think that's the case. But people are projecting that onto individuals like Mustard, etc. And, bro, Mustard got Kendrick Lamar on Not Like Us. So like, what? Oh, now Kendrick Lamar needs to be on his project, too? And Kendrick Lamar wouldn't even fit on here, man. So I think this is sad, the way these things are used. But it's more so, I want to illustrate to you how these narratives develop, where they start, and how it's not really fake news because a lot of it is opinionated, but how stuff will be weaponized. Keep your head open, or keep your eyes peeled, because another individual will sell significantly less than their previous album, and people will be defending their sales and saying it's not that bad. So we can say Mustard had a 50% drop from 2019, which 5 years, come on. So he had a 50% drop. I can promise you that there are other rappers that have had a 50% drop, or very big artists, and they're not talked about as much, or there's excuses being made for them because people like them, or they don't already have a bias that they want to use these sales to confirm. Or their bias is in support of the artist, so they won't say, oh man, this guy's flopping, he's selling 50% less than before. It's kind of whack, but it is the nature of the game. I just don't want you guys to think in the same way. We're in search of the truth. Even if I don't like an album, even if I want an artist to fail, which is very, very, very rare, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I just can't do that and weaponize like the person's sales that I know are not bad to paint them in a certain light. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. What did you expect Mustard to say? Like, let's be honest, for some of you that think, oh, nah, this is a flop, Mustard should have done whatever, what would have been good numbers for you? Because if Mustard did 30K, 36K, would you say, oh yeah, that's solid? Or would you still be clowning it? Because I think a lot of people would still be clowning it. Like, they expect the dude to do 100K or something. And if you're of the mind frame that you expect Mustard to do 50K plus as a producer, you're just a lunatic at that point. But let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Peace.